IDK, how to even start this? But this is gonna be long and messy, and NGL, I'm writing this mostly to keep myself from texting people I shouldn't. So yeah, if you make it through, thanks, I guess. I just need somewhere to throw this because I'm still low-key shaking and I can't sleep and my phone keeps lighting up with notifications from people I don't want to talk to right now. For context, me, Alicia, my now maybe soon-to-be ex, husband Arthur, we've been together like almost 6 years, married for just over 3. We actually met at this weird outdoor mural painting event years ago. I was just there to kill a Saturday. He was there because his cousin dragged him to it. And I guess we kinda hit it off because he made this dumb joke about mixing the wrong paint colors and getting kicked off the project. And I laughed and we ended up getting a coffee after. I liked that he wasn't like a tryhard. Or at least I thought he wasn't. Anyway, we started dating. It was good for a while and then we moved in together. Eventually married, the usual. Except, I always felt a little weird about his family, especially his mom. She never liked me, I could just tell. Like, she would make these little comments every time I was around, stuff like, "Oh, I guess some people just don't know how to keep a house," or, "You sure you want to eat that, Alicia?" And she'd laugh like it was a joke, but it was always pointed. I tried to ignore it, but it honestly got to me sometimes. She's got this old school, wives should be wives mindset. Like, she'd actually say things like, "A good wife knows how to stand behind her man, not beside him." Barf. Arthur always brushed it off, said she was just like that. Just ignore her, but like, it's hard to ignore when it's your Mel. And then there's his Uncle Randy, who's honestly a walking HR violation, always with a drink in hand, always saying the most inappropriate stuff. But the family just kind of shrugs and lets him. I usually avoid him, but sometimes you just can't. So anyway, last week was our wedding anniversary. I decided to actually make a big deal of it, since last year we just ordered in and watched dumb TikToks on the couch, which was fine, but I wanted to step it up. Arthur's been kinda moody lately. Not mean exactly, just checked out, like he's always half somewhere else, on his phone a lot. I asked if he wanted to do anything special, and he just shrugged, said whatever I wanted. So I decided to cook his favorite meal from when he was a kid. I texted his mom for the recipe. LOL, in retrospect, why did I do this to myself? She sent me this super vague version, like no measurements, just vibes, but I figured it out. Spent the whole afternoon on it. I even went to the nicer grocery store, bought the good ingredients, made sure I'd have enough for seconds. I set the table, lit the dumb candles we got as a wedding present, all of it. I put on a playlist of songs we liked when we were dating, even though I knew he'd probably roll his eyes. Then, like, an hour before he's supposed to come home, he texts me. His uncle and mom are coming over, he forgot to mention it. I swear I almost threw my phone. Like, who invites their mom and uncle to their anniversary dinner? I text back, "Lol, what?" And he just says they'll be quick. Randy's in town and his mom wanted to see the apartment. I honestly should have just canceled the whole thing right there, but I just didn't. I was too far in, the food was almost done, and I figured, whatever, we'll eat together, they'll leave, and then it'll just be us. So they show up. His mom right away starts inspecting everything. Like, not even subtle about it. She runs her finger along the counter, looks in the fridge, makes this noise like she's disappointed but trying not to show it. Randy's already half in the bag, making jokes about the fancy table setup. Arthur's acting weird, barely says hi, just dumps his bag and goes to change. I finish dinner, bring everything out, try to make conversation, but it's like talking to a wall. His mom keeps asking if I followed the recipe exactly, says she can always tell when people try too hard. I laugh it off. Arthur sits down, barely glances at me, just starts scrolling through his phone. I nudge him under the table. He sighs, puts it down. So here's where it all goes off the rails. Everyone starts eating, or at least pretending to. Arthur takes one bite, chews, just stops. He looks at me, then at his mom, then spits the food into his napkin. I'm not even kidding. Just full-on spits it out like a toddler. His mom looks mortified, but not for me. For him, like he's embarrassing her. Randy bursts out laughing, says something about how I must have poisoned the food. I ask if something's wrong with it, and Arthur slams his fork down. Says maybe if I'd listened to his mom more, I'd know how to cook a simple meal. He says, and this is burned into my brain, that now he sees why his mom begged him not to marry me. Says I'm useless in every way. I just stare at him. His mom doesn't say anything, just does that pursed lip thing she always does, like she wants to say I told you so, but knows she shouldn't. Randy laughs again, says Arthur should have married someone who could at least fake being a real woman. I just sit there, not really sure what to do. Like, I know I should have yelled or thrown something or whatever, but I don't even know. I just looked at him and said, "You just buried this marriage with your own mouth. Remember that." I stood up, grabbed my phone, and left the table. I heard Randy say something else, but I didn't even catch it. I slammed the door behind me, hard, didn't look back. I walked to the end of the block, called my sister Jessica, and just said, "Can I come over?" She didn't even ask. She just said, "Yeah, come now." So I went to her place, sat on her couch, and didn't even cry. Just sat there, scrolled through Instagram, Tried to ignore the texts popping up from Arthur. First saying come back, then telling me I was overreacting, then nothing. Jessica made me tea, which I didn't drink. We watched some dumb Netflix thing, and I just sat there, not really feeling anything, just kinda numb. She kept asking if I wanted to talk, but I didn't. I just didn't want to be alone in my apartment. That's all. I stayed over, didn't sleep, just lay there listening to the traffic outside. The next morning, Arthur texted again, said his mom was upset, Randy was sorry, LOL, and I should come home and talk it out. He said he was tired, he didn't mean it, but then he also said, I never listen. I always make things harder than they need to be. I didn't reply. By the afternoon, I went back to the apartment, tried to avoid everyone, but Arthur was there, waiting. He tried to act normal, like nothing happened. He said, we can just forget about last night. Let's just move on. I just stared at him. He said, I should have married someone who knows her place. And he just sat there, looking at me, like he expected me to apologize or something. I didn't say a word, just walked past him, left again. I could hear him muttering to himself, something about how I always blow things up. His mom was right. He never should have expected me to change. Jessica picked me up that night, took me to get pizza, didn't ask questions. I told her what happened. She just kept shaking her head, said she never liked him anyway. For the next few days, I crashed at her place, tried not to think about it, but obviously I was thinking about it. Arthur kept texting, sometimes saying sorry, sometimes blaming me. I blocked him for a while, but then unblocked because I kinda wanted to see what he'd say. He didn't come to my sister's place, thank God. His mom texted once, said she hoped we could work things out. That marriage is hard work, and I should try harder to make Arthur happy. I didn't reply. It just made me more mad. To beach. I started making a list of all the stuff I needed to get from the apartment. What was mine, what was his. I realized how much of my stuff was just absorbed into his. Like, even my favorite mugs, my books, just mixed in. I texted him to say I'd come by when he wasn't there. He said fine, just let him know when. But yeah, I kept replaying that dinner in my head like, did I miss something? Was there some reason he snapped? And like, yeah, he's always been weird about his mom. Like, if she disapproves of something, he'll sulk for days. He grew up hearing that a wife's job is to make a man's life easier, and I guess that just stuck. I've tried to talk to him about it before, but he always just shrugs it off, says I'm too sensitive, or that I'm just looking for reasons to be upset. The thing is, I'm not the most chill person, I know that. But I don't start drama for no reason. I just don't know how you can say stuff like that to someone you claim to love, and then expect them to just get over it because it makes things easier for you. I talked to my mom about it, which was a mistake because she started crying and asking what she did wrong raising me, and then my dad called from 2 hours away and said, do you want me to come get you? And I said no because I don't even know where I want to be. They're trying, I guess, but they don't really get it. My mom keeps saying marriage is hard work too, but at least she doesn't blame me. Jessica keeps saying I should just move out, be done with it. But it's not that simple. We've got that lease, we split the bills, and most of my friends are mutuals with Arthur. The thing is, I'm not letting this go. Maybe that makes me petty, but I don't even care. I'm not gonna be the wife who just eats shit and smiles for the family. I don't care if his mom thinks I'm not good enough. I don't care if Randy thinks I'm not a real woman. I'm not gonna sit there and let people talk to me like that and then just laugh it off. I'm not built that way. I'm done being nice about it. So I've started making a plan. I'm not sure exactly how it'll go yet, but I'm not just walking away and letting him think he can say whatever he wants and get away with it. He wants me to know my place. I think he's about to find out exactly where my place is, and it's not behind him. I'm going back to the apartment in a few days to get the rest of my stuff. I told Arthur I'd be there. He said, whatever, just don't make a scene, lol. As if I'm the one who made a scene. I'll update if anything wild happens, but for now, I'm just getting ready. I refuse to be the one who loses sleep over this. He can choke on it for a change. First update. Okay, if you read my last post, you know what happened at the dinner from hell. It hasn't even been 2 weeks yet, and I swear it feels like I've aged 5 years. IDK, if that's normal or what. Anyway, I said I'd update if anything wild happened, and buckle up, because this was a whole reality show I did not sign up for. The weirdest part was how normal everything else looked. Like, I was still brushing my teeth with my usual toothpaste, scrolling through my FYP, texting my group chat about stupid memes. But then my phone would buzz and it'd be him or his mom, or sometimes even Randy. Yes, the uncle who called me not a real woman. He thought sending a meme would smooth things over. Mingle. I wanted to throw my phone out a window. So anyway, I knew I had to go back again to the apartment to get my other stuff because I kept running out of clean clothes at Jessica's, and she started hinting that her closet was for her and not for my fugly ex's t-shirts. She's not subtle. I texted Arthur, said I'd be by in the afternoon. He said fine, but then his mom texted me too. That was new. She said she wanted to be there when I came, to talk things out as a family. I'm not even kidding. I just left her on red. Jessica said I should bring her with me, and I was like, yes, no way I'm going there alone. When we walk in, Arthur's mom is already sitting on the couch like she owns the place, clutching her purse in her lap and looking around like she's waiting for someone to bring her tea. Arthur is there too, standing by the kitchen island, arms crossed, doing this thing where he won't look directly at me. I can tell immediately this is going to be one of those long, awkward afternoons. I start grabbing my stuff, like real casual, chargers, makeup bag, the mug from my dad, you know. His mom says my name and asks if we can sit down and have a civil conversation. And girl, I almost laughed. Jessica nudges me so I sit, but I keep my bag on my lap. So she starts in, all soft-voiced, saying things got heated, families argue, but marriage is about forgiveness. And she knows Arthur didn't mean what he said. She says, maybe you could apologize for storming out and making a scene in front of the family. I just look at her, and then at Arthur, and he's just staring at the countertop. I ask if he really thinks I owe anyone an apology, and he just shrugs. His mom says, well, you could have handled it better. You embarrassed Arthur. All he wanted was a nice dinner, and now everyone's talking. I tell her, point blank, that what happened wasn't a scene. It was me standing up for myself after being humiliated in my own home. I say, your son spat my food out and called me useless, and Randy called me not a real woman. I'm not apologizing for leaving. She looks at me like I just slapped her. Jessica pipes up and says, if anyone owes an apology, it's Arthur and Randy, not Alicia. Arthur's mom gets all flustered, says she's not here to take sides, but that sometimes people just need to let things go for the sake of family. I ask, would you have let anyone talk to you like that? She straight up ignores the question, just says, it's different, you're married, you made vows. Arthur finally looks at me and says, can we not do this right now? Just get your stuff. I stand up and say, you're right, I'll just get my stuff. I brush past him and he tries to grab my arm. I shake him off. He says, you're making this worse. And I say, no, you did that yourself. I'm in the bedroom stuffing things into a duffel when his mom comes in behind me, all quiet. She says, I know Arthur's been under a lot of stress. His job's not great, his uncle's a bad influence, but you could have tried harder to make him happy. She says, a good wife makes sacrifices. I turn around and say, I've made enough sacrifices. I say, you raised him to think women should just take it, and I'm not gonna. She calls me disrespectful, says she's never been spoken to like that in her life. I just keep packing. Jessica comes in, tells her to leave me alone. So now I'm mad. I pack up all my stuff, like everything I can fit. I take my kitchen gadgets, my plants, all my books, my ring light, my speakers, even the good blanket his mom gave us that she always said was family property. TBH, I don't even want it, but I take it just to be petty. I slam the drawers, I make noise, I don't care. Arthur stands in the hallway staring at the wall. He says, you're really leaving over this? I say, yeah, I am. He says, you're just doing this to get attention. I laugh and say, if I wanted attention, I'd have posted your mom's good wife speech on Instagram stories. He looks like he wants to say something else, but he doesn't. I load everything into Jessica's car. His mom follows me out, starts saying I'm overreacting, that I'm breaking Arthur's heart, that I'll regret this. I stop, turn around, and say, if your son didn't want to lose his wife, maybe he should have acted like a husband. She tries to slap me, like full-on hand raised, but Jessica steps between us and shoves her back. His mom gasps, drops her purse, and Arthur finally runs over, yelling at Jessica. Jessica tells him to back off, says maybe he should have protected me from his family instead of letting them trash me in my own home. I just get in the car. The ride back to her place is dead silent for like 3 minutes. Then we both just start laughing. It's one of those laughs where you don't even know why. It's just relief and anger and like disbelief. I text a couple friends about what happened. One of them, Nancy, says she heard something from Arthur's cousin, that the family group chat is blowing up about how I disrespected his mom. I don't even care at this point, I just text back, good, maybe they'll finally leave me alone. The next day, Arthur texts again, says he wants to talk. I say, I don't. He says, you're being childish. I say, you're being an asshole. I don't even wait for a reply. I text my landlord, ask about taking my name off the lease. He says it's doable, but will take some paperwork. I start looking for a new place. Nothing fancy, just something with decent light and a lock that feels like mine. Word gets around fast, I guess. Mutual friends start texting, some saying they're so sorry and hope we work it out. Some asking what really happened because Arthur's telling people I flipped out over nothing. I just tell the truth. No drama, just facts. I say, he spat out my food, called me useless. His uncle called me not a real woman. His mom blamed me, so I left. Some people don't believe me or say there must be more to it. I get it. People always want there to be some secret reason, but sometimes it really is just that simple. I'm not giving details to randos. My real friends get it. I start feeling this weird pressure, like I have to justify leaving. My aunt calls, says she heard from my mom, wants to know if I'm really sure. I say, yeah, I am. She says, you know, you're not getting any younger. Maybe just try to work it out. I block Arthur on everything for a few days. He starts emailing me, which is wild because who even uses email for this? He says, you're making this so much harder than it needs to be. Just come home so we can fix it. I ignore him. Jessica starts giving me pep talks every morning, says I should take him for everything he's got, but honestly, I just want my peace. I don't want to be in the same room as him, let alone fight him for stuff. Then, 3 days later, I get a call from Nancy. She says, "Did you see Arthur's Facebook?" I say no. I blocked him, remember? She says he posted some long rant about how some people don't value family, and marriage is about sacrifice, and people are fighting in the comments. I don't even have the energy to care. But then my mom texts me a screenshot and says, "Are you okay?" I say, "Yes, please stop sending me his crap." Now here's where it gets extra messy. Arthur's mom calls my mom. She says she's worried about Arthur, that I broke his spirit, that maybe my family should talk some sense into me. My mom just says, "Alicia's a grown woman. She'll do what she wants." My dad calls, says if Arthur shows up at their house, he'll call the cops. I laugh. Honestly, I don't even think Arthur would dare. I delete every pic of him off my phone. I don't want reminders. Then, out of nowhere, Arthur shows up at Jessica's. She's at work. I'm there alone. Doorbell rings. I look through the peephole, see him standing there with his hands in his pockets. I open the door just enough to block him from coming inside. He says, "Can we talk?" I say, "I don't think there's anything left to say." He says, "You're making a mistake. You're throwing away everything for one bad night." I say, "It wasn't one night. It was years of you letting your family treat me like shit and acting like it's my fault." He says, "You're exaggerating. You always do this." I say, "I'm not doing this anymore." I start to close the door. He tries to push it open. I shove back, hard. He stumbles, looks shocked, says, "I never thought you'd actually leave." I say, "Well, now you know." I slam the door. I text Jessica. Tell her what happened. She's furious. She says, next time he comes over, she's calling the landlord. I say, "Please do." I sign the paperwork to take my name off the lease. Landlord says it'll take a week or two. I start moving my stuff to a friend's spare room. It's small, but it's quiet, and no one tells me how to load a dishwasher. I get a cheap lockbox for my important papers because Jessica is paranoid. Arthur will try to mess with my mail. Honestly, I thought I'd feel more sad, but mostly I'm just pissed. I keep thinking about that dinner, about his mom's face when I called her out, about Randy laughing like it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. I keep wishing I'd thrown something, but I know I did the right thing leaving. I'm not going to be quiet about it either. If people ask, I tell the truth. I'm not protecting anyone's reputation but my own. So yeah, that's where it's at. My family's got my back. Jessica's basically my bodyguard. I'm living out of a suitcase, but I feel more myself than I have in years. I'm not going to let them guilt me back into that house. If Arthur wants to know what it feels like to be alone, he's about to find out. And if anyone's wondering, yeah, I'm still mad. I'm not sorry for it either. I'm not letting this drop. Next move's mine. Second update. So, last week, Nancy, she's one of my oldest friends, not like Arthur's side or my side, just like actually neutral, which is rare these days, messages me and says she's still doing her birthday thing. Just a few people, nothing wild. She says she really wants me to come. I tell her I don't know, I'm not trying to show up somewhere Arthur might be, but she swears she's invited both of us because she doesn't want to pick sides, and also, TBH, she's stubborn as hell. I say, if he starts anything, I'm out. She promises she'll shut down any drama, but I'm not holding my breath. The day of the party, I'm already anxious. I keep changing my shirt, not sure if I should look I'm doing fine or don't talk to me. I land on a hoodie and my favorite jeans because whatever, I don't need to impress anyone. Jessica, my sister for new readers, tells me to just go, have some fun, and if it sucks, she'll come pick me up. So I walk in, and the vibe is weird. Like, everyone's kinda quiet, and I can feel people looking at me, but nobody says anything about it. Nancy hugs me, says she's happy I showed up, and drags me to the kitchen to help set out snacks. I see Arthur's jacket on the coat rack and my stomach drops. I wish I'd told Nancy to just uninvite him, but whatever. Too late now. I'm halfway through filling a bowl with chips when I hear Arthur's laugh from the living room, and it's this fake, too loud laugh, like he's trying to prove something. He's holding court with a few of his friends, telling a story about his crazy week, and I can tell he's already spun a version of things to them because one of them keeps glancing at me like I'm the villain in a soap opera. I ignore it and just keep arranging snacks, but I'm already annoyed. Things get awkward fast. People keep asking me if I'm okay, but in that way where you know they just want gossip. One friend tries to be subtle, says, "So, you and Arthur? You guys taking a break?" I just say no, we're done. She looks shocked, like she thought I'd say it was a phase or something. I see Arthur watching from the other side of the room, and I can tell he's annoyed that I'm not just hiding in a corner. Nancy tries to keep things light, puts on a playlist, starts pouring drinks for everyone. I take a seltzer and try to melt into the background. But then Randy, yes, the uncle, he wasn't even invited. He just showed up with Arthur, can you believe that? Comes in, already smelling like a brewery. He makes a big show of hugging Nancy, then looks right at me and says, "Well, if it isn't the little runaway wife." I don't even react, just stare at him till he looks away. Arthur keeps trying to make eye contact. He's doing that thing where he looks at me, then looks at his friends, then back at me, like he wants me to come talk to him so he can look like the bigger person. I'm not playing that game. I stick with Nancy and a couple other people. Talk about literally anything else. TV shows, new restaurants, the weather, IDC. About an hour in, I end up in the hallway waiting for the bathroom. Arthur comes over, leans against the wall and says, "So you're really not coming home?" I say, "No, I'm not." He says, "You're just gonna throw it all away over a stupid fight." I say, "It wasn't a fight. It was you and your family treating me like trash." He says, "I already said I was sorry." I say, "No, you said I overreacted." He gets all huffy, says, "So you're just gonna make me look like the bad guy in front of everyone?" I say, "You did that yourself." I try to walk past him, but he blocks the hallway. I tell him to move. He doesn't, so I push past him. He stumbles into the wall, looks shocked. I don't care. I go back to the kitchen. I guess he didn't like that because not even 10 minutes later, he's telling his side of things to a whole group in the living room. He's loud enough that I can hear every word from the kitchen. He says, "Some people just don't understand how much pressure it is to keep a family together, and how sometimes people have to make sacrifices for the greater good." He says marriage isn't easy, and sometimes you just have to suck things up, but some people just can't handle it. I can feel people looking at me, waiting to see if I'll respond. I decide, screw it. I walk into the living room, set my drink on the table, and say, "You want to tell everyone what really happened?" He goes quiet. I say, "You want to talk about sacrifice? How about the anniversary dinner I cooked? The one you spat out in front of your mom and uncle, called me useless, and then let Randy call me not a real woman. Want to tell everyone about that?" The room goes dead, silent. Arthur tries to laugh it off, says, "It was a joke. We were all joking. She's just sensitive." I say, "Oh, so when you tell your wife she's useless and let your creepy uncle call her not a real woman, that's a joke?" I look at Randy, who is suddenly real interested in his drink. Someone from his side pipes up, says, "That can't be true. Arthur wouldn't say that." I just stare at her. Say, "Ask anyone who was there. Ask his mom. Ask Randy. I'm not making anything up." I say, "I didn't leave because of one fight. I left because I'm done letting people treat me like garbage, and then blame me for not smiling about it." Arthur starts to get defensive, says, "You're twisting things. You always have to make a scene." I say, "Maybe if you'd listened to me once in 6 years instead of your mom and your drunk uncle, you'd still have a wife." Randy tries to butt in, says, "Oh, lighten up. It was just dinner." I say, "Yeah, for you it's just dinner. For me, it's 6 years of biting my tongue so you can make your little jokes. I'm not doing it anymore." I look him right in the face and say, "You want to know why I'm leaving? Because I'd rather be alone than spend one more day with a man who thinks knowing my place means eating shit and saying thank you." Nancy tries to change the subject, but it's too late. The whole party is just staring at us. Arthur looks around like he wants someone to back him up, but nobody says anything. I grab my bag, say, "I'm done here," and walk out. On the way out, I hear someone whisper, "I can't believe he really said that." I'm standing on the curb, texting Jessica to come get me, when Arthur comes out, follows me to the sidewalk. He says, "You didn't have to do that." I say, "Neither did you." He tries to grab my arm. I pull away hard. He gets mad, says, "You're making a huge mistake." I say, "You made it for me." Then, get this. Randy comes out, tries to get in my face, says, "You're just mad. You're not part of the family anymore." I laugh, say, "If being part of your family means being treated like dirt, then good riddance." He tries to step closer, but Nancy comes running out and physically gets between us. She tells Randy to back off, says if he doesn't leave me alone, she'll call the cops. He finally slinks away, muttering. Over the next couple days, I get texts from people who were at the party. Some say, "I had no idea it was that bad. I'm sorry." Some just want to know the tea. I ignore those. A few of Arthur's friends unfollow me, which is fine. They never liked me anyway. Nancy texts me, says she's proud of me for standing up for myself, says Randy tried to talk his way back into the party and she threatened to call his wife. I laugh. Apparently even his own family is tired of his shit. Arthur texts me a few times, says I embarrassed him, says I made him look bad in front of his friends. Oh, and get this. His mom tries to call my mom again and says I caused a scene and ruined the family's reputation. My mom just tells her to stop calling. Honestly, I wish I'd gotten that on video. I'm figuring out my next steps, but I feel lighter. I don't have to tiptoe around anyone. I can eat what I want, watch trash TV, leave my dishes in the sink if I feel like it. I keep thinking about that night, about how Arthur looked when everyone realized he wasn't the victim, and it makes me feel, I don't even know, not happy, but satisfied. Like, yeah, I did that. I know this isn't the end, not really. Arthur's still out there, probably telling his version to anyone who'll listen. His mom is probably still fuming, but I don't care. I finally did what I should have done years ago. I stopped letting people walk all over me. Next up is finishing the paperwork and making it official. And if he thinks he can guilt me into coming back, he's got another thing coming. I spent too long being quiet. Not anymore. I'll update if anything else wild happens. But for now, I'm just gonna enjoy not having to see his face every day. And if you're reading this and thinking about leaving someone who treats you like trash, do it. It's messy and awkward and people will talk, but it's better than the alternative. Trust me. Last update. Honestly, I thought that would be the peak of the drama, but I guess I should have known better. Like, I thought I'd be writing this from some new, peaceful headspace, but NGL, it's just as messy as ever, just in a different way. It started with the keys. You ever notice how keys get heavy when you don't want them anymore? I had this little pile. Car, mailbox, apartment, the extra one for the storage unit. All on this keychain he bought me on a trip, which I mostly kept out of guilt because I never liked it. I'd been carrying them around for days, just switching bags, not really wanting to go back to the old place, but knowing I had to do it eventually. Like, you can't put off the last move forever. Jessica kept bugging me, saying, just get it over with. The sooner you're done, the sooner you can stop thinking about it. So I finally text Arthur. Tell him I'll come by when he's at work. Need to grab what's left and drop off my key. He says, what's the rush? Just wait. We can talk. Maybe work things out. I ignore that. I literally just say, I'll be there Tuesday morning. No reply. So Tuesday comes. I roll up around 9, headphones in, hoodie up, hoping to be invisible. It's cloudy, which feels right actually. I let myself in and I swear, the place hits different when you know you're about to never see it again. Everything looks smaller. The kitchen still smells like the candles his mom gave us, which makes me want to throw them out the window, but I don't, because I'm trying to be the bigger person. The couch is covered in crumbs and someone's hoodie, not mine. There's a pile of mail on the table, mostly junk, one envelope from the bank, which I leave for him because I'm done with his bills. I start packing the last of my stuff into boxes. It's the boring things, phone chargers, some books, my favorite mug that got left in the dishwasher, a couple plants I didn't want to kill by moving them too soon. I'm moving slow, just being methodical so I don't forget anything. The whole time I'm half expecting Arthur to come busting through the door, but he doesn't. I find a note taped to the fridge. It's in his handwriting, just says, I wish you'd talk to me. I laugh, rip it down, toss it. I'm done talking. I get to the bedroom, open the closet, and find a box I didn't remember packing. It's all the anniversary cards we ever gave each other, shoved together with some random receipts and old photos. I almost just left it. But then I see one of the cards is from his mom, like, a card to me, saying, welcome to the family, from our first Christmas. It's wild to think she actually pretended to like me back then. I throw the whole box in the trash. After an hour, I'm done. I leave his stuff exactly where it is. I'm not giving him the satisfaction of saying I trashed anything. I set my key on the table next to the junk mail. Then I pull out the manila envelope with the divorce papers. TBH. That was the most satisfying part. I leave them right in the center of the table so he can't miss them. For good measure, I leave a sticky note on top. You buried this marriage with your own mouth. Remember that. I walk out, slam the door behind me. It's not even noon yet. The calls start around 3. First, it's just a missed call from Arthur. Then another. Then a text. You need to come back. We need to talk. I don't answer. 5 minutes later, he calls again. I let it ring. By dinner time, I've got 7 missed calls and 3 voicemails. The voicemails are a mix. The first one's all, I don't understand why you're doing this. The second is angrier, like, you're making a huge mistake. You'll regret this. The third is almost whiny, saying, you can't just leave, you owe me a conversation. I delete all of them. He texts, I'm coming over if you don't pick up. I text back, you show up here, I'll call the cops. He doesn't show up. For once, he listens. Jessica comes home, sees my face, asks, how many voicemails so far? I say, 3, but I bet he's just getting started. She laughs, says, block him already. I say, I want him to see I'm not answering. That's the point. I get a DM from his cousin on Insta saying, Arthur's really upset. Could you at least meet up and talk? I reply, tell him to stop contacting me. I block the cousin. 3 days go by like this. I keep expecting him to show up at Jessica's. At one point, I hear footsteps in the hall and I'm ready to throw hands, but it's just the neighbor's dog. Nancy texts me, says Randy, the uncle, is telling people I stole half the apartment. I laugh. Send her a pic of my sad little pile of boxes and say, tell him if he wants the ugly teapot back, he can come get it himself. She says, he's not allowed in her building anymore after what happened at her birthday. I start getting more messages from people on both sides. Some friends are supportive, some are just nosy, wanting the full story. I keep it short. Just send them the same line. He spat out my food, called me useless, let his uncle call me not a real woman, and then told me to know my place. I left. No one really has a comeback for that. My mom calls, says she got a letter from Arthur's mom. Yes, a literal letter. She says I'm breaking up the family, that I should think about the vows I took, that I need to forgive and forget. My mom says, you don't have to respond. I'll handle her. I say thanks. Please do. At this point, Arthur's desperation is getting embarrassing. He starts posting vague stuff on Facebook like, some people just don't appreciate what they have, And loyalty is rare these days. A couple mutuals send me screenshots, but I just mute him everywhere. I notice he's changed his profile pic to one of the two of us, which is actually hilarious considering half his family already unfollowed me. I text Nancy, ask if she thinks he'll ever stop. She says, he'll stop when he finds someone else to control. I say, hope she likes bland food and his mom's advice. The real kicker is, Arthur tries one last time. He sends a mutual friend to mediate. This guy, Cody, texts out of nowhere. You should really talk to Arthur. He's a mess. I say, if he's a mess, maybe he should clean up after himself for once. Cody says, he's not himself. His mom is worried. His uncle is saying, you ruined the family. I say, if being part of the family means eating shit and being grateful for it, they can keep their club. A week goes by. No more calls, no more emails. I send the final signed divorce papers by registered mail, just so I know he actually gets them. I get a text from the landlord that says, you're all set, your name's off the lease, good luck. I delete Arthur's contact for good. My mom keeps checking in, but not in a guilt way, more like, do you need anything? Want to come over for dinner? I say, maybe next week. Jessica says, you're basically a legend in our group chat now. I say, I just did what I had to do. She says, yeah, but most people just talk about it, you actually did it. Here's the thing, I didn't leave because I wanted revenge. I left because I was tired of being told my worth by people who couldn't even look me in the eye after dinner. But if I got a little revenge along the way, watching Arthur scramble, watching his family freak when I walked away, seeing him realize he can't just say whatever and expect me to take it, then that's just a bonus. Anyway, that's the end. If you made it this far, thanks for reading. Thanks for all the advice and the DMs and the memes. If you're stuck in a situation like mine, seriously, don't wait for someone else to save you. Be your own exit. Slam the door. Leave the key. Let them call all they want. You don't have to answer. I'm out.